I'm 22 years old and my name is Andrew. I'm currently in college. Throughout my entire childhood, I have been reading and hearing stories about school shootings. It's a terrifying topic to talk about, that's for sure. I mean, by reading some of the most famous shootings of the schools throughout the entire United States history, from different locations or different states, it's horrifying to know that some students or that some students actually are taking that so far by killing their fellow classmates and even their some teachers for some maybe to be laughs of it, or maybe just after they have been bullied and never been get the help or anything. I don't know. But if someone actually says, I can imagine how it's like to be terrified being in a school shooting, my answer will be you can't even imagine it. Before you had never experienced a school shooting yourself, you can't just walk around saying, I can only imagine how terrified you've been. That's a whole different level of being terrified and of different something else. I can say that I experienced one school shooting myself. It happened when I was only 16 years old in high school. I know that many of the survivors, even to this day, are still traumatized. Even I myself. It happens that I still had to talk to a therapist or even my school counselor about my nightmares. I can say this. I was petrified. Sometimes in my nightmares, were among many of the students that was killed in the school shooting. But it helps to talk about it, to move on. But being traumatized but may not even pass on. But at least talk about it is one way to process it. To have this conversation with other people who had been experiencing something themselves, and so telling them that they are not alone. But anyways, this happened to me when I was just 16. I was actually this happened just before summer break happened that particular year. But also I should mention, I'm not going to point out the exact location of this school shootings because of the privacy, not from me, but for the many other survivors out there. And just to be mentioned that, I was with some of my friends in the hallway around lunchtime. This was early in the week. We were all talking about our plans for summer break in a few weeks, and as we didn't know at the moment, our plans would have been changed, not only for this summer, perhaps for an entire life. I was in the hallway with one of my friends, Kim, Oliver, Adam, and Isabella. All of us except for Oliver was 16, while Oliver was only 17, and he was only 1 year older than us. But as we were talking, we suddenly heard screaming and popping sound. I was like, whoa, what's happening over there? And suddenly, Oliver pointed out, that sounds like gunshots. I should mention this. Oliver should know what gunshots sounds like since his family is average hunters. So he had been literally growing up around firearms when he was just a kid, and he also hunts sometimes in the fall. Even though that Adam was like skeptical about this could even have been a shooting, maybe it was just someone making the sounds like to be as gunshots and the screaming were something else. But suddenly, tons of different students actually ran past us in the hallway. Some of us were just crying, screaming, and some actually told us, "Run! Someone is shooting in the cafeteria!" They screamed. We were just dumbfounded. What? said Isabella. Are you serious? But the Anderson student said, yes, run! I was stunned, still at the moment, skeptical about it. But later to find out that some of the students who didn't manage to get out actually managed to hide in other classrooms, in the school gym, and even in some school rest bathrooms, and even in closets, anywhere they could have been hiding without being found. And I asked one of the students who's running past us, how many are there? I don't know, 5, 6? 5, 6? One said there were at least 4 to 5 guys. But later it turned out it was 5 students. I was petrified. And as they ran past us, the sound of the shooting continued, and it was echoed down from the hallways. We were just so scared we didn't know what to do. The sound was getting closer and closer. And the screaming was screaming and screaming, and suddenly more shots, and the sound was gone. I didn't know what to do. I told the others we should run and hide. But the others like, where? I don't know, went somewhere. We managed to ran to a classroom. But I should also say that both Isabella and Kim were so petrified of fear, they couldn't even move even an inch. So Oliver and Adam grabbed them each and we ran, but we didn't know exactly which classroom would have been hiding. Because most of the classroom during the lunchtime was locked, and we knew that. We ran to so many different classrooms hoping to find one at least unlocked. As the sound was getting closer, we had also been hearing laughing and screaming in the background. But then, Ada found the door unlocked when we quickly walked in and locked the door behind us, and we hid behind some along the wall, underneath some school benches or a table along the wall to make sure that we would have been seen. Both Kim and Isabella snapped out of their petrified state and started crying. We told them to be quiet, because if we don't, we might be hearing this screaming. And suddenly, we heard this screaming and laughing, getting just out in the hallway. And we even heard some gunshots that were fired in the ceiling. And one of the guys walked up to the classrooms like, I know you're in there, let me in. But he wasn't talking specifically to us. If anyone is in there, open up, we will just want to talk to you. He laughed like a maniac. But we knew it was one of the killers. But the other guy's like, try the door. If it's locked, no bother. And door was locked, and it's like, let's find someone else. And we later find out this were in fact students. These guys were have blind for this quite some time. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. And the sound of them was fading away. Suddenly, the hall was empty. We were sitting there under the table, along the wall, not knowing what to do. The girls was now still crying, but most quietly. And then suddenly, I heard a sound. The sound came out from outside, not the hallway, but we actually saw this school was a ground level, so we saw from outside blue and white, red and blue lights. Police had arrived. But we were so scared what to do. And suddenly, I heard someone screaming for help outside, in the hallway. I knew that this probably could have been a stupid move, but if I didn't, this particular individual may have died. I crawled up to the window on all fours, but Adam's like, dude, don't do it! It can't even be a trick! He might be right. I did it anyways. So I was sneaking up to the window on the small door, looked out, and I saw this young woman outside, and I immediately recognized her. Miss Walker was a young teacher. She was about 25 years old. I told the others about this, and I told them to help me. But they told me, "Can you even see anyone else out there?" I looked from the small window, even though it was very limited of directions. I told them, "No, I don't think so." And I opened the door, and Adam came after me, and we managed to grab Miss Walker's arms and pull her in, and Oliver locked the door behind us, and turned out that Miss Walker had been shot in her abdomen. The girls were so petrified that she was bleeding there. I told them, the girls, to be quiet, but they didn't know what to do next. Adam was like, "We can't stay here, because if they might find us here, we'll all be dead like her." I told them, quickly, open one of the windows if they can open it. So I told them that when I took off my shirt and pushed it, hold it at the gunshot wound on Miss Walker, and the girls told me that it's probably too late for her, but I was like, "I'm not letting her go. At least there's a worth a chance of trying at least," I told them quietly. Adam and Oliver managed to open at least one window. I told them to grab Isabella and Kim, walk out, crawl out the window, and leave. But they were like, what about you? Don't. I had to stay here to be helping her. I said about Miss Walker's in my arms, or at least upon on the floor. "Dude, she's probably dead by now." "No, she's still breathing. Quick, leave from the window, run to the police, and tell them what's happening, and tell them there's at least a teacher here that needs seriously help right now." The girls didn't even want to leave me alone. But I told them I'll be fine. So, despite how much arguing we did, but they left. They crawled out the window, and this was only information but was told to me after all this things been happened over. Adam told me shortly after the kid left came out from the corner, the police saw them, and pointed their weapons at them, and they said, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa! We just at the school. Be unarmed." And the police actually managed to grab them and took them for safety. They talked to them to know exactly what happened. They also informed them that there is at least one of their friends, me, was still in the classroom with a teacher that was shot. They told us that it was stupid for me to stay behind, but I was not budge. And they demanded that, they requested that they could send someone to grab the teacher out of there. But the police said that was still a bit too risky, and they had to cover all the places that has been doing. And as I was sitting there, I had grabbed Miss Walker underneath the table where we were hiding before, and I still pushed on the wound, telling her that she will be fine, that she will make it, and she actually was unconscious at the time when we grabbed her inside. But when suddenly she woke up and saw me, she was first scared that I was one of the killers, but then she saw my face. "Andrew?" she said quietly, almost weak. "Yes, Miss Walker, it's me. Hold out." I told them about my friends had left the school, and that they probably were on their way to get some help for her. But I asked her how she was feeling and if she knew exactly which students had been doing this. She said only one of the 2 names of the 5 students that let you find out who they were. One was named Eric, another one was named Dave. Eric and Dave was two guys that I barely know, but I know that they were at least bullied by some of the other students at the school. And assuming the other three were the same things that bullied students. I asked her if she knew any other survivors in the area. She did. She said no, but she was still too weak to even do anything. I told her just try to rest. This will be over soon. And I didn't even know exactly how long I was there, but I was pushing all the pressure of the gunshot wound, and it felt like hours or eternity while sitting under a table. And after some moment, it felt like an eternity. But it was barely just maybe half an hour. And suddenly, I heard a knock on the door. It was an officer. Well, it said it was an officer, but I didn't want to jeopardize this. But then, I had to do something. So I walked up to the window and I asked to show me the badge. And they did, and I did see, in fact, it was an officer. I was letting out. I told about Miss Walker's was under a table along the wall, that she really needed help after she had been shot. He asked if I was injured. I said no. I was unluckily unheard of, but it later to find out that Dave and Eric and the three other students had been caught, and they had managed to kill at least 4 students and 1 teacher, and had injured at least half a dozen people, including Miss Walker's. I was petrified, but when I came out, my parents was both there, running up to me, asking if I was okay, if I was hurt or anything. I told them I was fine, I was not hurt at all, and I saw Kim, Oliver, Adam, Isabella with their parents, and they ran up to me and asked the same thing. I told them, no, whoa, I'm fine. Miss Walker's is the only one who's been shot, because I was covered in blood. And I was hoping that Miss Walker would survive. I was little informed by my parents that she did match ball through, and it was likely for me, because holding that intense pressure against the wound actually saved her life. Luckily though, the bullet didn't even hit any particular major organ or anything like it. From what I've been told I find out later that Dave, Eric, and their 3 friends were arrested, and all of them was actually 16, and they were adult. They were charged by the court as adults. Well, let's say they end up in jail for life without parole, meaning they will be there for the rest of their lives. And it turned out they were bullied by some of the school's football team, and they wanted to punish not only the football team, but anyone else, since no one actually stood up for them or even tried to help them. Despite how many people they have been telling about some of these teachers and staff, so the teachers did try to make this work, but it wasn't even enough. According to them, they wanted to kill every single person in the school, including myself, even though they barely know those guys. But then, I'm just glad that I was okay. I knew that some of the students were too traumatized to even go back. And I don't blame this on the families to actually decide to pull out their kids from the school and decide to have them homeschooled or send them to a different school. Well, my parents were considering to pull me out, or all I want, or they didn't even ask me if I want to go back. I said I will go back. They were proud and at least a little bit worried that something like this happened again. But I told them I will be fine. The school was closed not only because of mainly because of this shooting, and the school decided to actually close down way earlier for summer break. So they were maybe it's 2 weeks before summer break. So it gave us at least 2 more weeks longer summer break. But it's nothing like I don't argue about, since I mean, come on. We all of us have been experiencing something that's so horrifying that it scared all of us to our deepest core. And even after the summer, there were at least maybe almost 12 students that was not returning because they decided to be in front of their parents, to be doing homeschooling, or they even moved out of state to even smaller towns where they could finally probably find more safer school. Well, I don't blame them that either, because kids can always be in. There's only one. You only have one life, so. And for me, I had nightmares, but like many of us others who've been traumatized enough. But at least we all moved on, but still terrified about this. I prefer not talking much about this otherwise, but it happens when I talk about it to some close friends and families. Miss Walker, well, she felt very gratitude to me that I stayed behind to help her. She couldn't even have felt any more gratitude. She even told my parents that I was a great student, and the principal said the same thing. Ever since then, I decided to focus on my studies and helping others. So I'm currently in college, and my major is that I want to be something big that I can help people, and I wanted to be a lawyer or something. I haven't a little bit decided yet, but I wanted to be in helping other people. And this is one of my stories that I had been to telling everyone about my time of school shooting. Thank you for all for listening. Thank you.